guests. I also appreciate these two gentlemen who joined me on this show today and will throughout the week as well. Frank Schwab in front of a massive map of Denver. Charles Robinson in front of a massive map, I believe, of Dallas.
Houston.
I think Houston. I got the
Odessa,
state right.
Austin, who knows?
Austin. I'd prefer Austin over Houston and Dallas. No offense to either. Gentlemen, it's good to see you both. Hopefully you had a fantastic end to your preseason.
It just seemed like the fire hose turned on over the last few days, doesn't it? We went from like, okay, the preseason. And now as we're getting ready for the show today, there's so much to talk about. There's so much that has happened in the last 72 hours or so. It really feels like the season's upon us.
We burned through all the who's not going to play, who's not going to sign, who's going to be out for a week. And we just and then what always happens is push comes to shove. There's 13, 12 days left to get into practice and get it done, and everybody starts to get it done. But there is still a holdout that I'm sure we'll
except Dallas.
Right.
Except Dallas. We'll get to that in a second. But before we do, I should also point out, everyone should read Frank's column. Not that they shouldn't read Charles, but Frank did a great piece Saturday night. Basically, everything you need to know from each of the preseason games. Frank, thank you. That helped me out big time.
I watched the preseason, so you don't have to. That's my role.
Right.
During the preseason.
I was at a game, and I watched plenty of games leading up to the game that I was at. We'll talk about it coming up shortly, the Rams and the Browns in Cleveland. But all the other games that I couldn't watch were the ones that I was bouncing around on the plane on the flight home trying to watch live. Frank sums it up for you. It's beautiful. So go check it out. And while you go look for it, let us give you the news today. 4 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday is the cutdown deadline. And teams have started trimming their rosters. Some that played on Thursday started doing it Friday morning. At 4 p.m., you got to be from 90 down to 53. Players have to go through waivers. Not everyone does. Vested veterans. We'll get to that in a second. Let's get to the news, however. In the last couple of hours, earlier this morning, Terry McLaurin got his deal done. Within the last hour, Trey Hendrickson got his deal done as well. Let's start with Trey because Charles, he didn't want to play on $14 million, which is what was left on his contract. He's led the NFL. Hendrickson has in sacks in each of the past two seasons, cumulatively about 37 of those. And I thought that he might be the Carson Palmer guy, the guy that just went home and said, I'm not going to do it. What it looks like here happened is that both sides win to a degree. They give him a bump up to $30 million, so he gets his big paycheck this year. There's no guarantees beyond that, and unless the Bengals use the franchise tag next year, Trey Hendrickson can hit free agency come March.
Right. Well, look, first and foremost, I was going to get this dig in. We now all know that Frank is now sending gifts to Andrew to get that very generous bump of Frank Schwab content.
Gifts.
Frank, I don't know what your contract situation is. I hope they don't tag you. Hope you get a new deal. Hey,
I didn't get $30 million this year.
It's not quite a Trey Hendrickson type gift that he got from the Bengals. But I know Frank's padding the expense sheet and sending that Andrew's way. Anyway, look, to get to the Bengals, so there were two ways. From what I was told, there were two ways to break the dam here for the Bengals as they approached the final 2 weeks before the season kicked off. And that was either Trey Hendrickson, they could offer Trey Hendrickson a heavily but reachable incentive-laden deal that could potentially get him to near the $40 million mark. Or they could just straight up say, look, we'll give you $14 million on top of this. We'll get you to 30, and that money you're going to get. You don't got to worry about earning it. Obviously, anytime anything's incentive-laden, you get hurt, and those incentives go out the window. So you take the $14 million, you get to 30. He still has one incentive in there. It's multiple triggers that could bump him an extra $1 million. For the Bengals, I mean, it gets it done. This is the happy medium or the unhappy medium that often happens between teams and players. The Bengals don't get control of him. Obviously, we'll see if the tag comes into play. But to me, from everything I understand right now, part of what's built into this is that they're preparing for Trey Hendrickson to go and test free agency and get that contract that he wants next offseason. And I think both sides are happily unhappy. He gets the bump ultimately that he wanted. And we'll find out a year from now if he can land that $40 million plus payday he wanted.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually that it got done. I thought the Bengals were going to sit on this for a while. You said at the jump, and you're right that usually this stuff gets worked out, but in this sense, I was like, I don't think the Bengals are going to cave here, but they kind of did. You're Trey Hendrickson, you got to realize I don't really have a lot of leverage. They ain't going to trade me, and they're willing to be stubborn about this and just sit on this. So to get, like you said, all the way up from 14 to 30, I thought was pretty good for him. And he can hit free agency. Yes, he's going to be 31, but if he plays again like he did the last couple of years, there will be a pretty good market for him still, even at his age. So
Yep.
I do think it's a win-win. The Bengals get their guy into camp. Now their defense can have some hope of being a playoff level unit to help that offense out. And Trey Hendrickson gets a really, really nice pay bump when he honestly didn't have a ton of leverage. So it kind of worked out how it should have worked out, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Charles, you summed it up well, that both sides agree to be happy but unhappy here a little bit, right? The Bengals stick to their line, which is we never like to guarantee anything beyond 1 year, and here it's going to be $30 million. What's interesting here is the franchise tag. You said the assumption here is they won't use the tag. But if that isn't in writing, and hypothetically the Bengals do use the tag, which right now is projected at like 26 to 27 million, the franchise tag was never intended to be placed on a player at a number lower than the number he just played for. So if the Bengals were to use that tag, it's basically 2 years and 57. But the 2026 salary would be less than the 30 he is due to make now. Charles, can you remember a time where that ever happened?
No. I mean, it's certainly unusual. And again, as you said, if something isn't in writing, I don't think we can necessarily guarantee it. But I can tell you, there's no way on Trey Hendrickson's end of it. I cannot believe that there were not assurances made that, listen, come in, take the 30 million. You're not going to get to 40. We feel like it's a heck of a bump, even though, $30 million amongst the elite pass rushers, considering, this is one of the best edge players in the game the last several seasons. He falls pretty far behind the elites at the position still, even at $30 million. But I believe the trade-off has to be, you're going to have your opportunity, to go out there. We're not going to put this tag on you ultimately. But again, until I know that's in writing, and as of right now, pressing up against 7:00 Eastern on Monday, I don't know that that's in writing. I haven't seen anywhere. I haven't heard it anywhere that's in writing. So it's still something that potentially is on the table. And I cannot recall the last time a player would exit a salary and then go into a tag situation where they were making less money.
Yeah, it's the devil's always in the details with these deals. You got to wait until you actually see the paper and the contract filed with the NFLPA. And the same goes, honestly, for the Terry McLaurin deal. Let's get to that one. On a personal note, I've made it clear that I thought Terry McLaurin should be paid. I'm happy for him. I grew up in Northern Virginia, right down the street from where the Commanders trained. And this guy has been the bridge from dark, dark years under previous ownership to now fans coming back to this franchise and Jaden Daniels leading this franchise to the postseason. I've said that regardless of age, I think Terry McLaurin deserves some hazard pay, some combat pay, and I'm happy this deal got done. But when I heard that the deal was 3 years and $96 million, Charles, my immediate reaction is, no, it isn't. There's no way. There's no way that this is. Well, I'd love to see the 2-year guarantee. Is this a 1-year Band-Aid at 32? Or is this a 2-year guarantee for, say, 58 or 59 or 57, something in that window with a funny money year 3 that's never going to be realized?